Okay, our next panel is called Creating Strong Strategic Partnerships Nationally and Locally, sponsored by Trucenta. Our first speaker, Raymond Abro, is the COO of Jars Cannabis and has a combined 2 decades of experience in executive leadership in the cellular and cannabis industries. Raymond Abro, to the stage, please. Go ahead and sit right over here. Mike Bahura is the founder and principal attorney of Bahura Law, which specializes in state and municipal cannabis licensing. In addition to practicing law, he is also getting catcalls. He is also a partner in the Pure branded retail stores. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Bahura. Right there, the microphone's right there. Subbing in for Tommy Nafso is Travis Harrison, the Chief Revenue Officer of Knox Cannabis. Travis has spent 4 years operating in the U.S. cannabis market following his previous 12 years in the traditional retail space, leading national retail brands such as Ralph Lauren and Shinola. Travis Harrison. Tom Lozano of PharmaCann is an experienced C-suite healthcare IT executive who brings his 3 decades of information technology to the cannabis industry. Let's welcome Tom Lozano to the stage. Mr. Tom. Last but not least, definitely not least, Denise, how are you? With over 25 years of private and corporate practice, Denise Palacella founded Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan in 2009 and is an outspoken advocate for the licensed cannabis industry. Let's welcome to the stage Denise Palacella. And our moderator for this session, renowned author, longtime editor of D Business Magazine, my dear friend, Mr. R.J. King. Ladies and gentlemen, R.J. King. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, welcome everyone. Derek, thank you for putting this together, and maybe we could all wish Derek a happy birthday. Tomorrow is his birthday.
Happy birthday, Derek.
Well, I thought we would start with having the panelists each make a couple of minutes of introduction and what they do and what their company represents.
All right, I guess I'll go first. Raymond Abro, CEO of Jars Cannabis. Every day we got to wake up and we got to decide what we're going to do with our business in an ever-changing world of marijuana and the cannabis industry. We got to deal with our competitors, right? We got to deal with our staff, employees, and we got to deal with ever-changing CRA regulations. So every day we wake up, we got to worry about direction, process, and execution. And from day to day, we look at that, and that's what keeps us up at night. But it also helps us wake up and get going in the morning. Jars Cannabis is right now reached 15 locations in a span of 2 years, and we're looking to grow to 25 by the end of third quarter 2023. So it's a really exciting time for us. We love the competition. We love all the action that comes with this business. And we love to also, what's the word I'm looking for? Work with others and share best practices. So that's how we learn to succeed well, is reaching out to the other cannabis industry leaders and share best practices. That's just Jars Cannabis.
My name is Mike Bahura. I'm the principal attorney at Bahura Law. It's a huge law firm in Bloomfield Hills. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. But I'm also a partner, and I'm also a license holder as well, so it gives me a kind of a unique perspective to advise clients being in the business at the retail level and cultivation and processing. I've been doing it since 2018, and hopefully one day I can get to the level of Jars and maybe be Raymond's secretary.
Any day.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. So my name's Tom Lozano. I was in healthcare for quite a long time, mostly IT. I was one of the principals that started Meridian Health Plan, and I thought healthcare was crazy till I got in this industry. If you want to have a beer out there, I'll explain how I got in it, but it's pretty insane. Every day. But I actually am one of the owners of PharmaCann. I was partners with John Lord from Colorado for Livewell, Michigan. The building that our grows in, I actually owned with some friends. And started doing this on my own and got a couple caregivers and quickly realized I had to get somebody that really knew what they were doing, because growing 8 plants is different than growing 50,000 plants. So I found John. I was very lucky, and as you guys all know, we got into a merger with PharmaCann, and I'm sure we're probably going to talk about that in a bit, but that's a little bit about me.
My name's Denise Policella. I'm the founder and managing partner of Cannabis Attorneys of Michigan. I've been doing this for some reason since 2009, and I wake up every morning and go, oh my God, I'm still here. We have a firm that started in Livingston County. We have an office in Troy. We're working on Grand Rapids and Toledo. We're in New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland, and I think New York. I can't remember. But every day's, every day we wake up and we try to fix more problems with this insane, rapidly developing, fascinating, fluid, ever-changing industry. And all of those things make lawyers money. So I'm not sleeping.
My name is Travis Harrison, and I was actually pulled in last minute. I'm replacing Tommy Nafso, our founder and CEO. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for Knox Cannabis. We literally just launched about 4 months ago in the city of Grand Rapids. And we hold about 5 states of licensure at this point in time, and are developing out our varying house of brands and our other manufacturing network. Obviously, residing in Michigan for the last 10 years, being in the space for the past 5 years, having come from the traditional space of Ralph Lauren and or Shinola, where I spent 15 years, definitely appreciative to be in this space. I definitely go to sleep tired, wake up tired, but it's an incredible space, and I'm proud to be up here with these members today. Thank you.
Well, Raymond, let's start with you. If you can sort of sum up the industry today in Michigan. Obviously, there's basically a lot of supply. The demand's getting there. You do have some cities that are just starting to open up retail locations, or at least approve them, like Detroit, Traverse City, and some others. But the big issue is the price drops. And what do you think it'll take to turn that around?
So if we go back to April of 2020, when we launched our first transition from caregiver to license, I mean, it was tough to get product, right? I mean, we were calling every vendor, begging for product, and, we don't have any allocations for you. And as the market started to conform, it was great. We had our relationships, and we were all doing fine. And then one day we looked up, and we're seeing 68 brands in each category, right? And we're like, well, this is tough. We can't really show brand partnership, right? When your pie is so big and slices are so small. So we decided to start to bring down our brands. And now, a lot of these brands and these vendors and wholesalers and products, they got great, good product. And how do we decide what are we going to bring into our doors? And that's our challenge, right? So every day somebody's knocking on our door, giving us a phone call, and we don't know which decision to make. And right now it is a price-driven world, right? The consumers of Michigan are reaping the benefits of our hard work, right? And we don't know which way to look. The only decision that has to be made is, how do we reduce the amount of processors and growers coming online? Now, I'm a retail-only location. So the more growers and the more processors there are, it's better for me, right? Because now I get to decide, who I'm going to go beat up on price the next day. And that's the truth. But that's not good for the overall longevity of the business. And we do have to figure out a way where we can see some consolidation. Tom spoke about it very well, and I back that. Consolidation needs to happen. And I think that's the only way we can truly see our marketplace conform.
Anybody else want to comment on that one?
I'll take that.
Sure.
I don't think we have to do anything. I think the market's going to consolidate because a lot of the people that got into this industry weren't business people to begin with. And I'm more of a free market gal. I also think, with respect to people who have been talking about the glut of product, yeah, there's a ton of product, but the problem is we don't have any retailers. right? We have Warren and Detroit, two of the three most populous cities in the state, haven't brought any rec adult use retailers online. That's 90 retailers in the two most populous counties in the state with no demand right now. Part of the problem is that the way the law was written, I've been working on this, I have no solution, I'm sorry. Part of the way the law was written gave municipalities all this control. And MRTWA was not written well enough to make municipalities opt in and give people rec adult use licenses. And then me and all my colleagues started suing the crap out of each other, and it brought everything to a standstill. And now every other municipality is kind of scared to get in. So there's a serious lack of demand. And I think that's also part of the problem. I'm not sure it's our problem to fix, though. I mean, I think that this might be just a natural selection issue, right?
Yeah, I'm going to echo some of those sentiments. I think the market will eventually correct itself. I think the last thing we need is more regulations or more governmental interference telling us you can't get a license, you can't get a license, or the price has to be this or that. It never works out. Could they do some things, sure, to kind of help expedite the process of the market kind of regulating itself? Maybe, but you know, when I opened my first store in 2019, August of 2019, I think I paid $4,200 for a pound of flour to open the store, and I was only able to get 4 pounds. Imagine opening a brand new store in a brand new market. We were in the city of Lapeer, and we paid $4,200, and we were only able to get 4 pounds. There was nobody coming to rescue us when I had to sell an ounce for $400 to pay the bills. When the dispensaries that were in earlier with the caregiver market could still buy or still had caregiver product, and they were selling product for, you know, $99 when it was costing me $260. So, you know, having the state step in and try to regulate pricing and things like that, I think would be a disaster.
Yeah, and I just want to echo what Denise was saying. We are entirely under-retailed in this state. There are approximately 770 municipalities in Michigan today. There's under 700 retail today across the entire state, right? So the consumer's winning in this market, clearly, and that's a great thing. But let's give the consumer more opportunity to shop across the state of Michigan in the retail destinations that are not yet online. If we do that, it's going to help level set the market, level set the price per pound, and the consumer will continue to win in this market, and some of the price compression and oversupply that we're seeing will start to diminish, and we can get it to the voting population that voted for it in the first place.
If I can rebuttal, just real quick, and I believe the price driven, what's driving the price down in our industry is the actual retailers. I don't think the consumer is having a problem finding a retail store to purchase product from. They're everywhere. And the price drop is driven by the retailers fighting to stay alive, not the growers or the processors, but it is actually the retailers driving the price down. So when we need to compete with price, the first thing we're doing is calling the grower and the processor and saying, what can we do better so we can compete against our retailer? So it's not a retail problem. It's not. The consumer's finding us without an issue. The problem is you can't sell 68 brands of carts on your shelf. It's impossible. You got to find it, and then you got to sell it.
Yeah, I figure. I'm concerned about the smaller players is what I'm really concerned about. You know, we're in 8 states, so we can spread the risk across our states. But the smaller players, and I do agree about retail stores, you know, you keep opening. It's like if Cadillac built plants without dealers. Eventually you're going to have cars sitting around. It's the same problem with this situation. I worry about the smaller players because I think companies like mine, you know, we went through this in Colorado, so we've got experience and we know how to cut costs down and be able to compete, you know, from a wholesale side. Right now, the wholesale side is a nightmare. I mean, it really is. And I always joke around because the first I see a phone number. By the way, the biggest mistake I did was use my personal phone for this because it never stops. But you know, don't start at $300-400 a pound. You know, we're not starting a conversation there. So I feel bad for the smaller players because they don't have the ability to have 7 other states help you. So,
Tom, maybe you could talk about the benefits of the LiveWell PharmaCann merger and whether you foresee other mergers or consolidation in the industry.
yeah, we were really lucky. John Lord's a genius in this industry. He's done so much for it, and he just knows what he's doing. We had suitors suiting us, but the reason the PharmaCann deal made so much sense is, and I don't feel bad. I got some of my top growers are here. We know how to grow. We're very good growers, and PharmaCann understands the public markets. They understand how to go public. They had all the things that we needed, and we had all the things that they needed. I've only been in this since 2016. By the way, that's like dog years. That's 7 years per, so you figure how many years I've been in this. But when I went into a grow and I saw the flower room, and I asked the guy, is that a veg room? And he said, no, it's flower. And I said, okay, you guys do need us. And but just the opposite, we needed them. We needed them for the experience, the corporate compliance, and all those things. Yeah, I think there's another transaction in our future. We're talking. I think we're the largest private player in the nation. But yeah, I do think I see another transaction coming up.
Beyond a merger or an acquisition, are there other strategic partnerships out there that that the cannabis companies can work with, across the industry to not only improve things but drive more sales?
Yeah, well, I'll go again. Yeah, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get strategic partners with groups like JARS and retail stores because we only have 2 retail stores. So we're looking to get out and find retailers that at least we can start some kind of arrangement so we can pretty much agree on a price that we know every month they can expect it, and every month we know we can ship it. So I think that the market right now is forcing that to happen, to work with wholesalers, work with retailers, and vice versa to come up with a long-term strategy.
Denise, you talked about the municipalities earlier. What can be done to help encourage them to open stores? Some of it is, you might have a very conservative council or a mayor or a supervisor. But are there ways that they can realize, number one, they're going to make money off the taxes, and 2, support their residents that are looking for this product or
How
products?
long we got? The municipalities are the problem. And, I agree to some extent with what Raymond said, but there are some cannabis deserts in Michigan. I'm in Livingston County. And, where you don't have a legal market, you have a robust illegal market. So people are going to find marijuana. They're just not going to find safe, And I don't know. I've been working on municipalities for 12 years. I don't have an easy solution. We let municipalities in Michigan rule. And we really shouldn't in some instances, okay? And actually, I was trying to work with the former director of Brisboe on some legislation or some language for an amendment to legislation that would force municipalities to automatically give rec adult use licenses to medical where they are. That's a tiny, tiny portion. There's no simple answer. I've driven to half of the municipalities in Michigan myself to talk, and every single municipality has their own issue. At the end of the day, you have to get them past the drug war propaganda crap that there's still, and once you do that, you've got 2 issues. You've got money, and if you can make the economics work, they will listen. So I always tell my clients, go with an actual business plan. Just don't go up to them and go, hey, you should do cannabis. Go and be like, you've got this industrial park that's just crap, and we can, and show them the money, right? Show them the plan. And then you've got the NIMBY problem, right? Like Troy. Troy had a perfect situation where they already had an industrial park full of marijuana, and full of people who knew how to do it. And they refused to give licenses to those people, even though it wasn't retail, because they don't want marijuana in Troy because it sends the wrong message because they're family friendly. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. But there was no, I mean, we worked on Troy. How long did we work on Troy? Forever. And they just, no, we were, you know, and then Livingston County has Oakland County-itis. We wish we were Oakland County, but we're not. And we look over at Oakland County and go, well, they don't have any marijuana. We don't want it here. So I have no solution. The state needs to start making the municipalities get into this. They really do. The only thing we have right now is rec adult use retailers get you, what, 58,000 or something like that a year. It's great. But if it's a well-funded municipality, you know, we really have no argument. Other than, hey, marijuana's already here. Can't we please just make it safe and legal and get you some tax dollars? But that's not always working. It's just not. And then I think the only other problem, which is, I get it, it's a problem, but there are a lot of lawsuits going on right now. And so you have the Michigan Municipal League attorneys, and I doubt there are any of them here, who are going into their clients and saying, if you opt into rec adult use marijuana, you will get sued. That's not true. We've got ways around that. You don't have to get sued. You don't have to cap. You don't have to have merit-based applications. There are ways to not get sued and still do this, right? But generally, they're not listening to us because we're the weed people, so they don't trust us to do their stuff, right? So we're working on it, but that's a big problem. The municipalities are a huge problem, huge problem. Yep.
Thank you. Mike, is there a legal strategy to go into these communities and sue them? I mean, you look in recent years. Sterling Heights tried to stop the building of a mosque. They were taken to court and lost. So it seems like, this is treading on some free enterprise here. And, what's sort of the strategy going forward?
Unfortunately, the way the marijuana laws were written kind of gives the municipalities full authority whether they want to allow them, not allow them. And to Denise's point, the lawsuits don't help. City of Warren has been involved in a lawsuit since 2019. Now it's on its way to the Supreme Court, and so they get scared of this. If you want to try to get a municipality to opt in, if you have a chance, I always tell people, don't take me. They don't want to hear from a lawyer. You find somebody local that has some roots there and that is passionate about the industry and start and start dropping those seeds over there, and it's going to happen over time if you can you can make that relationship with the city officials and you have somebody from that area or from that city that has roots there and has some skin in the game. It's very difficult for a guy like me to go 2 hours up north to a rural city or some other city that. And give them a pitch. And listen, we've done it. It doesn't always work. It usually doesn't. But I tell them, look, marijuana was here long before you and I were here, and it's going to be here long after we're gone. You have a chance to kind of bring it out from the shadows and make some money off of it. But unfortunately, the way it is today, I think a lot of municipalities are just very scared of lawsuits. Nobody wants to deal with a protracted, expensive lawsuit, and they know that. The problem is, if you do these competitive applications, whether you win or you lose, a lot of the people are suing. If you lose, you got to consider suing if you think they didn't score it right or if it wasn't done properly. And if you win, you're likely going to have to intervene to help the city defend against the people that lost. So it's very challenging to go after these new licenses, these new cities, because a lot of times it's not going to get resolved for a couple years, and then you're stuck in a situation like Warren or Detroit, Traverse City, where everything has basically come to a standstill for several years now. So unless the state is going to amend the legislation, requires a supermajority, I don't think we can get 75% of the politicians to agree the sky is blue. So I don't know if there's going to be any agreement on amending MRTMA and kind of resolving this. But until that happens, I don't see an easy avenue.
Travis, how could this industry grow? Are there other avenues of growth beyond retail? Right now, Michigan probably is going to come in around $2 billion this year in sales. What I've been hearing is it's going to go up to about 3 billion and kind of plateau. But what kind of strategies are out there that maybe haven't been looked at to bring more revenue to this sector?
Yeah, look, I mean, Michigan year over year is up 28%, right? We spoke about the consumer. More and more consumers are coming into the industry, coming into the space every day. We're positioning ourselves in Grand Rapids today, but again, we're looking at some of these limited license states. We're also putting a heavy emphasis on brand partnerships, right? Being able to partner with Cookies that we're launching with in December, later this month in Grand Rapids, and bringing that same partnership to some of the other states in which we're looking to operate. Look, they're an industry leader. They're a premier brand. And I think we're starting to see brand recognition for some of the cannabis brands that we are selling here in Michigan, but also some of those brands that have migrated from California. And if not brands per se, products, right? Whether that be the beverage industry or the beverage category under edibles and or product innovation. I think you're seeing the 200 milligrams obviously just passing in Michigan. You're seeing a lot of product innovation. You're seeing a lot of real creativity. And you're starting to see brands, again, draw that brand recognition from those more mature states into states that are coming online, whether that be Mississippi, Alabama, perhaps, Connecticut, South Dakota, Connecticut, which I just said, but the New York, New Jersey area. You're going to see some of those brands start to settle into those markets with a tremendous head start that they hadn't had before, right? Look at Can, right? The edible beverage. That is now, under a partnership with GTI, but they have one of the largest retail footprints in the nation, right? So being able to leverage that brand through that partnership, get into those markets early. You're seeing brands like that win, and certainly Cookies in our partnership, we're hoping to leverage that same brand recognition and ultimately draw more customers into the space, right?
Anybody else on that one?
I think it's somebody turns 21 every day, right? So I don't think that stops it. But what's more unique about this is I got a sister who I've convinced my kids is a third grandma, right? So they call her grandma, right? She's just now getting into the gummy industry, so it's still very raw. And then you look at two brands I love dearly is MKX and Ubik, and they just launched Cheetos, right? So like we're getting more people involved in marijuana. We're getting people grow into the age of being able to purchase marijuana, and every day we get a new product. I think we haven't even become close to where we want to be as far as a plateau, and every day we're seeing the climb come up. So I'm really excited about where this industry is going to go in 2023.
What makes you excited?
I couldn't tell you. Just the business itself, I think it's the need to survive is what makes me excited, right? And how are you going to figure that out, and how are you going to attract more people to your brand if you're a processor, and your retail center if you're a retail-centric location. So, the marketing aspect of it, I think a lot of people don't pay attention enough to finding consumers outside of your door and outside of your home and bringing them into your locations. I think from a brand standpoint, they rely on the retailers, and the retailers rely on a text message. I think we have to do more all of us need to advocate for the entire industry as a whole and put our names and our brands out there, no different than you see Coca-Cola and Pepsi fighting for spots all day long.
Maybe more could be done in terms of marketing cannabis as a health benefit in terms of improving people's lives with ailments that they have. I don't know that I've actually seen that from an industry's perspective, but anybody want to jump on that one in terms of providing a message of healthcare out there that cannabis brings?
I think you're starting to see, obviously, with the research bill being passed, right? So there's a bright future as it relates to medical research, and that's obviously an incredible tentpole for the industry and has created a lot of momentum. There's obviously been an assumption, right, of that medical benefit from cannabis, and I think we all know over the history of cannabis, if you will, you're finding a consumer in this market, albeit recreational, that still comes in very much for benefits of cannabis, whether that be sleep, calm, relaxation, but then obviously some of the more chronic, intensive diseases and or otherwise. So it's obviously a clear benefit. I think you're looking at some brands, Primitive, Calvin Johnson's brand, who's doing a lot of research right now in Harvard on the psychographic effects of cannabis, brain elasticity, in how cannabis helps athletes, right? So his brand that he's preparing to launch, Primitive Performance, and looking at some of the other celebrities in the space that come from that intensive athletic background where they have tremendous breakdown of muscle use and or endurance needs. Finding cannabis is a real reliever and a way to gain repair in recovery. So I think there are some leaders. I think Calvin Johnson is certainly one of those that's really driving that for the space.
I told there's many reasons why I got in this, but one of the main reasons is back in 16, Mr. Chelani over there and a few others, we met with Senator Meekhoff about getting the processing license passed. And I think the story that I went and told the senators that caught him the most is I almost lost somebody very close to me, the Oxycontin. And I explained to him, I said, if you want to worry about a problem, there it is. It's Oxycontin. He got hurt, was on Vicodin, and that doctor was so quick to give him Oxycontin. And it just, I saw him change in a matter of 2 weeks. And so that, I think with that, I've seen kids with seizures. I'm not going to tell some parent that they can put a drop of oil on their kid's tongue and stop having seizures. Have one a day instead of 100. So I think getting those messages out, I think, would help our industry.
I think you're starting to see some of the marketing become a little more mainstream. I think HOD was one of the main sponsors at Arts Beats and Eats this year. So it's going to happen. There are, the regulations from the state and from the FCC kind of handcuff how much you can advertise or what you can say or what you can promote. But I think we're starting to get there. A few more years maybe, and we'll be, where alcohol and beer and wine is now, I think.
I'd really like to see, and I've spoken to the administration about this, but if anybody else feels like joining me, I'd really like to see the state of Michigan start promoting the licensed cannabis industry. There are a lot of people out there that self-medicate, and they go to gas stations and get some sort of crap CBD, and they think they're taking medicine. My children are now in college, and my son's roommate is taking some sort of gas station CBD crap for his anxiety, and I'm trying to get him to go to one of my clients' dispos to get, and they won't do it. And I would really, really like to see, the state of Michigan has no problem promoting the lottery, right, or some other things, but I'd really like them to start promoting, not cannabis, but just promote the licensed industry. Like if you choose to use cannabis, please use licensed, legal, safe cannabis. And that's been a frustration. The lobbying organization I'm with, CBAM, has been really looking at doing some sort of almost PSA billboards, like promoting generically what the cannabis industry has done for Michigan. We all know, but pick a person off the street, they don't really understand it. And I think that the average person driving to work on I-75 could benefit from knowing how many jobs this industry has created for the state. So stuff like that.
Yeah, when you look at $2 billion, that's a big number. What advice would, anyone can take this up, what advice would you give to someone looking to get into the industry, whether as a grower or a retailer?
I got it.
Or stop?
Run. Run away. Go do anything. That's all.
Well, you
when I
talked to
first-
Calvin, and with Primitive and him and Rob Sims, they were growers at first, and just now got into the retail side, and they are so thankful they did that because now they got cash coming in the door. But again, anybody want to take up what advice you would give to newcomers into the industry?
So on the advice I would give is, if you're not well capitalized, well, first let me back up. If you want to come to Michigan and grow a process, I would advise them not to, and I do that daily when people call me and ask me. On the retail side, if you don't have a strong retail background, I don't care how much money or how much capital you're working with. If you don't have a strong retail background in Michigan, to me, Michigan is the most competitive retail market in the country. It is.
In most industries.
Not yet, in all retail, especially cannabis. So if you don't come from a strong retail background, you don't have a lot of background in retail, I would steer clear. Is there room for good retailers? There's always going to be room for good retailers, in any of these markets. I've seen guys go into markets that are mature and nobody's doing any big numbers over there, and they quickly become one of the busiest retailers in that market. Then I've seen people go into a market that has one or two stores and it should be a cakewalk for them, and they find a way to fumble it. So if you don't have experience in retail, especially in Michigan, I would steer clear.
And I still amazingly get clients, prospective clients calling every day asking to get into the industry. And, when this industry first started and it was like 2009, 10, 11, whatever, I would, for the first solid 20 minutes of every consultation, say, I'm going to spend 20 minutes telling you why you should never do this. And if after 20 minutes you're still in, then we're going to talk about starting your company. But, I still do that now. But my advice to people who really want to get in this industry, who don't have a facility in this industry right now in Michigan, is I will set you up with 8 of my clients who need a cash infusion. You go, you join them, you become a minority owner, learn the business, give them your skills. But there are people that I have, Tom Chelani, who I wish would sell to anybody. They've got one, they didn't listen because they know everything, and they have one dispo. And you can't live on one retailer. You can't live on 2. They need to scale up, diversify, or sell, and they're stuck on like 6 times earnings because apparently they're in Silicon Valley 10 years ago, and they won't sell. So I'm trying to find them. So when people call, I just matchmake is what I'm doing right now. Just matchmaking. I advise them against opening something new, but please use your skills to help somebody else, I guess.
Yeah, we were at the corporate office in Chicago a little while back, and we said if I came to you to invest in a company, and I started off with it's federally illegal, most people would run right there. You got an 80% tax, okay? 70% more are gone, and it's just you start looking at all the things, and those are the things. Somebody jumping into be a grow right now, don't do it. The market's already flooded. You're looking back at $1,500 pounds. We're down to what, $600-700 pounds now. So,
The math doesn't even work.
No, it doesn't.
The math doesn't even work.
But I think if getting some of those things fixed, Tom mentioned about safe banking and stuff. That'd be a big win for this industry. It'll open up some cheaper financing for us. It'll correct a lot of the problems, and also investment capital. It would free that up because right now Michigan was the leader, and now I think we're in last place. It's sad. Tom mentioned it. We kind of blew it, but I still have faith.
Look. What Mike was saying about well capitalization, there's no question about that. If you're not well capped, with the run rate that you must create and the payback model that any performer has on any retail build out, coming from some of the background that I did and certainly some of the CapEx expenditures that I've applied to the 65 plus stores that I built across channel. You can build a very inexpensive retail, but the consumer's discerning, right? And we know that the consumer is aspirational at the same time. And it's, by the way, easy to open retail. The hard part is making it operational, to Raymond's point. Being able to be consumer-centric about everything you do, have a background in that space, understand your consumer demographics, where they shop, how they want to shop, when they want to shop, and being able to evaluate and understand that from an omni-channel perspective, and then to have the marketing budget to be able to back that up and find them where they want, again, to be found. There's obviously a lot of hurdles within this space from a tech perspective, and there's a lot of creative workarounds that we're all faced to have to manufacture to find those customers and be able to speak to them outside of just a simple text message. But unless you're able to innovate and find that consumer, understand their patterns, forget everything else about the municipality, which is a hurdle in and of itself, and find the right positioning for that retail door. It's today impossible to endure retail profitability within the climate unless you have a time horizon and that expertise, and you can drive your cash flow. Focus on positive metrics and EBITDA. It's a very challenging climate. I could go back to traditional retail at any time. Obviously, I'm a sycophant for this space, enjoying it every minute, but it's incredibly frustrating. But it's that love-hate that I think we're all in love with.
And lastly, real quick, anybody have any insight at the federal level on when legislation might be passed on this, or is it still just wait?
Obama was supposed to do it, then Trump, then Biden.
Yeah, I think safe banking has a shot. I do. I was in D.C. a couple weeks ago, and there's a whole new vibe out there. I think everybody's still a little confused on what happened on Election Day, but I think we got a shot for safe banking.
Okay, please join me in thanking our panel, Raymond, Mike, Tom, Denise, and Travis. Thank you.